This is Caden Prescorn. This is JJP Gees.
Hey everybody, this is Jackson Dart, Ole Miss quarterback. You're listening to the Red and Blue Crew with Dave and Brad.
Welcome to the Red and Blue Crew podcast, the source for all Ole Miss sports news, rumors, and innuendo. Are you ready? From the Inside the Rebels studios, let's get ready to rumble. Now here are your hosts, David Johnson and Brad Logan.
Well, I walk into the room, passing out $100 bills, and it kills.
And welcome in, Brad Logan alongside David Johnson on the Red and Blue Crew podcast. Of course, today sponsored by the College Corner store located right there in Oxford off of Sisk Avenue. As the season is upon us, we'll be here in just a couple of short months, and we're excited to bring you all of the excitement of that 24 season. And the College Corner store can get you ready as well, whether it's a polo, whether it's outfitting your tailgate spot in the Grove, whether it's outfitting your Ole Miss room in your office. The College Corner store has everything that you need to make sure you are outfitted as the number one Ole Miss fan. David, big weekend upcoming, Juice Fest, and I know there was some news yesterday about a big-time recruit that will not be at Juice Fest, but should be a huge weekend nonetheless.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you're referencing Ladarian Clardy, the four-star safety out of Pensacola, Florida, Escambia High School. Ladarian is going to Washington this weekend instead of going to Juice Fest. He remains a priority target for the Rebels. I really think he's going to come back from Washington, and he's going to make a decision between Ole Miss and Florida State. He's got an announcement date set for August 3rd, and he told me last night he hopes to be back at Ole Miss for a visit before that August 3rd announcement date. So, we'll see what happens, but I'm not overly concerned about the Washington Huskies right now with Ladarian Clardy. I do think it's an Ole Miss Florida State battle, and we'll see what happens in the end.
Who are some other players right now that you kind of got your eye on for Juice Fest upcoming this weekend?
Well, obviously, Caleb Cunningham, the five-star wide receiver out of Choctaw, Mississippi. Listen, I think Caleb is coming to Ole Miss on Friday, and I think he's going to be at Auburn on Saturday. I really and truly think that's how his weekend's going to stagger. He hasn't told me that yet. The only thing he's told me is I'm coming to Juice Fest. Well, Juice Fest is kind of an all-weekend thing. It starts on Friday. Most of the big-name kids will be here on Friday. And I think he's going to come in Friday. He's going to have a nice visit. Then he's going to leave, and I think he'll be at Auburn on Saturday. And then we'll see what happens going down the stretch. But, I'm not going to say I hate to say this, but I've been saying this for the longest and gotten a lot of ridicule by it. He will not sign with Mississippi State. We know that much. And I do think it's an Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss battle, if you will. Of course, he is committed to Bama right now for Caleb Cunningham. But he would be the number one guy that I'd put a tracker on for the weekend. Right now, I think he'll be here on Friday.
I know there'll be a lot of prospects coming to town, and there's actually been a couple of stories that you wrote to where they're going to be in recruiting mode, the committed prospects. I know that's something that the staff is excited about.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I talked to Jacoby Hobson, the four-star linebacker out of Lake Cormorant, yesterday. He is bringing Radarian Daniels, D.D. Daniels, with him. D.D. is a top 2026 cornerback. Very long, 6'1", and he can play. He's got offers from Ole Miss, Arkansas, Missouri. The list goes on and on. He is a big-time prospect. He will be here this weekend right alongside committed teammate Jacoby Hobson. And then I talked to Hayden Bradley yesterday, the longtime committed tight end out of Buford, Georgia. Hayden makes no bones about it. He's coming here with his recruiting hat on. He wants to meet other recruits, and he wants to meet guys who aren't committed and tell them, hey, come on, get on the boat. Uh, you know, let's do this thing. So that's what you want out of your recruits coming into a big weekend like Juice Fest.
For folks that aren't sure, that I guess ask this question a lot, can you just tell the listeners what a roundabout way about how Juice Fest is laid out, kind of some things that the recruits will go through, what they'll see? Do you know kind of what the plan is over the weekend, a kind of loose plan about what they go through?
Yeah, there's a football camp, but it's kind of, I hate to say this, kind of secondary to the big roll out the red carpet and treat you like a king event. That's kind of what Juice Fest is all about. It's and I'm glad you brought that up. So last year it's ever going to be in July, at least for the time being, because next year from June 23rd all the way to September 1st, it's a dead period. New NCAA calendar, and so you're going, well, you'll just move it up to June, but June, there's so many other things going on. I mean, you not only have, the camp season going on, but you're bringing in official visitors as well. So I don't know how all of these college programs will squeeze in these big time events. Ole Miss certainly not the only one affected at all. I mean, you're talking, everybody does some kind of big cookout or something. Mississippi State has something going on this weekend. So it's really going to affect what the summertime recruiting season looks like. More importantly, it's going to affect my vacation, Brad. So I won't go on vacation until July next year.
Yeah, let's stay on that just for a moment. What will the new dates be? Do we know that yet?
Well, you're open in June all the way up until June 23rd. And then the dead period starts then and runs through September 1st.
That's quite a long time.
Yeah, and in the past, you basically had the whole month of June open, and then that last week of July before fall camp. No longer after this year.
So the recruits will start filtering out early Sunday morning?
Yeah, they'll start leaving early Sunday morning, most of them. Some of them within driving distance will probably leave Saturday, but most of your big names not leaving until Sunday morning.
And then you'll be on hand, I'm sure, for interviews and that sort of thing over
Oh, yeah, we'll have a big 3-day Juice Fest weekend going on, and should be a lot of fun. We're very much looking forward to it.
You can read all about that at Rebs247.com. That's, of course, an affiliate of 24/7 Sports, and it's called Inside the Rebels. There'll be a ton of recruiting content from Juice Fest this weekend, so we encourage you to be a part of that very vibrant message board community, and also a ton of recruiting information now, but a lot coming this weekend as well. David, we talked briefly before the show, and just because I'm a sicko, went back and watched a lot of the games from last year, and I would like kind of your thoughts on this. Number one, I watched Tulane. I watched Texas A&M. I watched LSU just kind of get a vibe on a couple of things. Number one, I saw just how good Trey Harris was last year. Not that I forgot, but David, he was phenomenal. At many points during the games, Jackson Dart, as you'll remember, had an issue with that ankle, was running for his life, and would just throw it up, and Trey Harris would go get it. So that's the first thing that really jumped out to me last year, is just how good he was.
Yeah, and for Ole Miss fans, I want you to picture having two Trey Harrises on the field at the same time, because if Deion Smith gets eligible and he's in practice with the Rebels the first or second day of August, you've got two of those on the field at the same time. He is that good. And, I read all these preseason publications, and nobody's factoring in Deion Smith, and I guess you can't until you can. And but as I reported last week, Deion is taking 2 classes right now. He needs B's in both of them to pull his overall GPA up to 2.0. If he does that, he is an Ole Miss Rebel. And it's as simple as that. His grade should come in last day of July, first couple of days of August. So there's going to be a little period of uncomfortableness as we try to figure this thing out. And but it's as simple as that. And I've got that from the very best of sources. 2 B's and he's in. That's it. And that is what he's focused on right now.
And he would be a day one contributor. He's that good.
No doubt about it. I mean, look, I went and watched Deion play twice last fall. Mesmerized. And I asked him, once after a game, I think they had beaten Kahoma. I said, it doesn't even look fair out there. Does it feel fair to you? And he just kind of fell out laughing, and he said, no, it really doesn't. And he's that kind of impact receiver. And, if you're looking for the most important storyline to follow for Ole Miss right now, I think it's Deion Smith getting eligible. To me, that is number one.
And David, one thing that I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this. Ole Miss gave up a lot of points last year, specifically to LSU and Texas A&M, and you immediately came back with, well, the defense is a lot better. But last year, specifically in that secondary, a lot of missed tackles and a lot of passing yards.
Yeah, let me start off here with an area that, you might not think I would, but I'm going to start off with the coaching staff. Particularly now, here's another new NCAA rule. Analysts can now coach on the field in practice, on the field during the game. That means Lane Kiffin and Pete Golding get to deploy Zach Arnett. And, those of you who don't remember, Zach Arnett was a really good SEC defensive coordinator at one time. And you factor in Brian Brown, who has coordinated defenses at Louisville and at Cincinnati. And your brain trust on the defensive side of the ball is a lot bigger under coordinator Pete Golding. And what they did in the offseason through the portal, Brad, I mean, let's just look at that defensive line. You already had Jared Ivey and J.J. Pegues coming back. Now you're going to add Princely Umamelan, Walter Nolan, Chris Hardy. I mean, all those guys can play. And then you look at the linebackers, and you're adding Pooh Paul to the mix, who led Arkansas in tackles. And then the secondary, where Isaiah Hamilton is now back there, the depth is there and the quality is there. This defense is going to take a major step forward this fall. That's my prediction.
And you look at that defense in the secondary, David, they've got some help too, right?
100%. I mentioned Isaiah Hamilton. There's also Yam Banks back there. There's also Amos back there. Listen, this defense is fitted now. Ole Miss spent a lot of money doing it and a lot of great recruiting efforts doing it. And, again, I think it's going to be, everybody thinks about Ole Miss as this fun offensive team to watch. And it is. But I think it's going to be just as much fun watching the Rebels play defense this year.
Yeah, and like I said, I maybe got a little caught up in how many points they gave up, and specifically like A&M and LSU winning there at the end. But here's the interesting part about that, David. They always find a way. And you talk about bend, don't break, and we use that slogan a lot. But that defense just absolutely, they always bent, but they never broke. Knock on wood, and Pete Golding found a way.
Yeah, and I mean, look, this is a defense that we watched in the Peach Bowl basically throttle Penn State. Okay, I mean, so yeah, it had its issues, but it wasn't terrible. And this year, it could be great. It could be a great defense. I mean, I haven't been this excited about an Ole Miss defense probably in a decade since the year that they went to the Peach Bowl and TCU beat the mess out of us. But um, this is a defense that could rival that one.
What are some games, and I've talked about this with a couple of people. What are some games on the schedule that kind of jump out at you that nobody's talking about? Any that kind of jump out at you that nobody's saying, yeah, you better circle that Georgia game?
Not really. I mean, I have to be honest. Ole Miss should be 6-0 going on the road to LSU, and I think they will be. Um, your first two SEC games are Kentucky and South Carolina. I'll be honest with you. On paper, neither one should challenge the Rebels. I don't believe they will. Now it's the SEC where the principle of any given Saturday is certainly in play, but I would have to say the LSU game. Um, do we play Texas A&M this year?
Not this year.
Mm-mm.
No, road games: Arkansas, Florida, South Carolina, Wake Forest, and LSU.
I mean, other than Georgia, probably LSU. Because of the environment. But on paper, I like this Ole Miss roster better than the LSU roster.
And then you just don't know where Florida will be at the latter half of the year. You don't know where Arkansas will be on the road. We've talked about this schedule before. You've got Oklahoma coming in, and a lot of the prognosticators have Oklahoma lower middle of the pack in the SEC, and that's not going to cut it over in Norman. And I thought that was interesting. SEC Media Day, Texas and Oklahoma came to SEC Media Day, which was in Dallas, expecting to be the big boy on campus. That wasn't necessarily the case, and I think they learned very quickly.
Yeah, they did, and I've mentioned this on the board. My best friend is Marcus Dent, and Marcus's stepson Isaiah Autry is a true freshman at Oklahoma, and Marcus is eat up with Oklahoma now. He definitely is, and he listens to our podcast, so I suppose he's going to be hearing this, but. I do think the Sooners are in for a little bit of a rude awakening. Um, they've got a difficult SEC schedule as SEC schedules go, and the thing I've tried to explain to Marcus is that it's not necessarily the game; it's the grind. It's you play Tennessee one week and then it's Georgia the next, or Alabama the next, and that kind of stacks up on teams that are in the SEC. And I think I had Oklahoma 8th or 9th in my preseason ballot, and I think that's where they finished, right around there. And to me, Brad, I mean I think that's fitting. And I mean you can't say you're disrespecting both of them because Texas was number 2 in most polls, but Texas is loaded this year. So we'll see what happens, but I'm kind of I kind of believe Oklahoma is a middle of the pack SEC team.
And then, David, you start talking about SEC Media Days when preseason polls and top lists and that sort of thing. Absent from the quarterback list, top 3, Jackson Dart.
Yeah, it's a travesty how that poll is conducted, to be honest with you, and I'll step outside the media ranks here. But you got to understand the SEC Media Days is a made for TV event now, okay? And they want to throng of gumshoe reporters there every year that really they're really just ball cap reporters, so to speak, if I can use that terminology here. Um, a lot of them are very good, but the ones who aren't very good, they outweigh everybody else. So, I never put a lot of stock in that media preseason poll. Because look, I'll be honest with you, it was in Dallas this year. If I'm Irv from Fort Worth and I've got a podcast, I get credentialed for that, which means I get a vote for that. And it's diluted down with a lot of foolishness. Somebody voted Vanderbilt to win the league. I mean, come on, man, what's that all about?
Yeah, that usually happens every year. A couple people vote Vanderbilt to win the conference. That's just kind of goes with the territory. It's kind of what you expect. I did expect Jackson Dart to at least be, third team quarterback. I mean, I understand, 1 and 2 with Beck, but I mean, Ewers. Ewers is high up a draft board, and we've heard all about Ewers in Texas, but. I don't know. Maybe it's just because we follow the program and we know just how good Jackson Dart is and how he is, what I've said all along, the straw that stirs the drink for Ole Miss. A program that under Lane Kiffin has been really good, and this year is expected to be even better with a schedule that is set up really good for Ole Miss. And, I said earlier, David, that the schedule works out really well. You get 2-3 non-conference games in a row, maybe 4, and, a couple of them are at home. Then you go on the road to a very winnable Wake Forest, but you get to work some cobwebs out at home. Then you work some cobwebs out on the road before the SEC starts up. The schedule sets up perfect. It really does.
No, it does. And it's been said time and time again, no Texas, no Alabama, no Texas A&M. And you've got to like your odds. I mean, in Georgia has to come to Oxford, and I don't know if anybody's noticed, but Ole Miss hasn't made a habit of losing in Oxford lately. So I think that sets up really good for the Rebels as well. That's all the way in November. I mean, here we are at the end of July, but man, it's here, Brad. It is football season, and there's a lot of intriguing storylines. And Jackson Dart not being named to the media's preseason All SEC team, that was just that's cookie cutter voting. Okay, and I think Jalen Milroe was the third team quarterback from Alabama. I think those are guys just rubber stamping it. And you voted in this. You've seen the ballots. I mean, it pops up, and there are like 15 names at every position, except O-line and D-line, and then there are about 40 names. And, you pick your top 5. And, those are the names everybody's heard and attracted to. So they clicked them. Not a very serious effort, I don't think. And then, again, I mean, Jackson Dart is a Heisman Trophy candidate, okay? Number one, the media loves a Cinderella story. Ole Miss has never won a Heisman Trophy. And love him or hate him, the media is infatuated with Lane Kiffin. So if Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss do what we think they can do on the football field, Jackson Dart is going to be in the Heisman conversation. And to me, that's much better than, me voting him on the preseason All SEC team.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. It really doesn't. The preseason polls don't matter. But it's great for shows like this that give us a chance to have something to talk about before the games kick off. And so that's kind of where it is. Excited about the season, excited about coming to you guys. David, there's an opportunity for you, the listener, to see us on the road the first 2 weeks of August on Tuesday night and Thursday night. We'll get that graphic out to you very soon and a link to where you can get your tickets in early, and we ask that everyone pre-book this. And I know you're excited about it, just like I am. The dates and everything are getting finalized, and we'll have that information out to you soon. Excited about hitting the road.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say too, if you have not heard KD Hill speak, and if you have not heard his inspirational story, KD is going to be with us at the event in Marigold, Mississippi at Crawdads, which is between Cleveland and Clarksdale, on August 6th. And then he's also going to be with us on August 8th. And Brad, we're going to be in Ridgeland August 8th. Is that right?
We will be, yes, Ridgeland August 8th and Crawdads on August the 6th.
Yeah, the 6th and the 8th.
The 8th will be at the Keg House in Ridgeland.
Yep, that's exactly right. But KD is going to be there, and he's going to share his story. And if you have not heard it firsthand, I encourage you to come out and listen to this. He is also going to be pre-selling his book that I am co-writing with Tim Enochs, the New York Times best-selling author. So a great opportunity to see KD and hear his story firsthand, and give him the pat on the back and the well wishes he certainly deserves moving ahead in life. And KD has a strong foundation with God, and he's doing just fine. But you do yourself a favor and come out and hear him speak.
He'll be with us the 6th and the 8th, and then we'll be in Ocean Springs at the Shed, the world-famous Shed barbecue joint. That's on Tuesday, August 13th, and then August the 15th, we'll be back in Oxford to wrap it up at David?
OK McGay.
There you go.
Think is how you pronounce it. OK McGay's great Mexican cantina here in Oxford.
That's what I thought. Okay. Nonetheless, so that's where we'll wrap it up. So we're excited about seeing everybody and coming to you. And it's going to be fun. And we'll get all that information. It'll be available on all the social channels and, of course, at Rebs247.com. That's Inside the Rebels, an affiliate of 24/7 Sports. David, also thankful once again for our friends over at the College Corner store. If you're getting ready for the season, remember those colors have been published on the schedule. So you'll need a polo, a jacket, a T-shirt or a sweatshirt for each individual event, depending on what part of the season it falls in. So you want to go ahead and go online now and get that perfect gear for the game, or you can get it in person there at the Oxford store, right off of Sisk Avenue, across from the brand new Chick-fil-A. Yeah, that place is just blowing up in Northeast Oxford. And also they've got stores in Ridgeland and Flowood as well. And be sure and tell them when you stop by that you heard about the great deals on the Red and Blue Crew podcast. We're grateful for our sponsorship with the College Corner store. David, Juice Fest coming up, and we are just rocking and rolling directly head on to this year's college football season.
Absolutely. It's time. August 31st. What is the 6 o'clock kickoff versus the Furman Paladins?
Yeah, and there's already a preview that you have thrown up a couple of days ago about Furman, so you can just go to the website and check that out. Formidable opponent, should have no trouble with them, but nonetheless, at least someone that does have a pulse and will give Ole Miss hopefully a little bit of a fight and give them an opportunity to kind of get some things worked out for the season. But yeah, cranks up 31st against the Furman Paladins.
Furman's won 10 games in a row for the last 2 years. Back-to-back 10-game win seasons for Furman. So 2 straight trips to the FCS playoffs. So no, it's not a softie, if you will, but again, one Ole Miss should handle easily. I think Vegas has it favored by more than 40 points right now.
And we'll have all the information as fall camp gets cranked up. Juice Fest coming up this weekend. And you can read all about it at Inside the Rebels, an affiliate of 24/7 Sports. That's at Rebs247.com. I'm Brad Logan. He's David Johnson. We'll talk to you soon right here on the Red and Blue Crew podcast, brought to you by the College Corner store.
Howdy, toddy.
College Corner is headed to Oxford. Stop by their new location in the Oxford Commons off Sisk Avenue. They'll have 4,000 square feet of Rebel gear ready for your trip to the Grove. On your next trip to Oxford, stop by the College Corner or our other great locations in Ridgeland and Flowood. Hats, shirts, polos, pullovers, sweats, t-shirts. College Corner has it all. And as always, you can visit us online at collegecornerstore.com. That's collegecornerstore.com. The College Corner, where your game day apparel meets.
It is a place which exerts an extraordinary pull on all who have walked its hallowed ground. Thousands come each year, and yet no one ever really leaves. Ole Miss is for life, a major university with the familiar intimacy of family. Friendships that are more than friendships, moments that are more than moments. An autumn celebration on a Saturday afternoon in the Grove. Contests waged and triumphs savored. With our largest freshman class, soaring honors college, national reputation for academics and research, our pride is overflowing. Today, more than ever, for all who have ever called this magical place home. You never leave Ole Miss.
You've been listening to the Red and Blue Crew podcast with your hosts, David Johnson and Brad Logan, the source for all Ole Miss sports news, rumors, and innuendo. From the Inside the Rebels studios, join us next time right here on the Red and Blue Crew podcast.